Good day, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. I'm Wendy Napolitano, and I thank you for joining as we're doing this energy share and Mount Shasta recap. So I'm super excited to have each of you here joining and participating as we talk about what our experiences were. And then if you want to share your experiences, I'll bring you into one of these little photo frames if you'd like to have a conversation or say anything in particular. And then we'll just, kind of just go from there, open forum. So thank you all for joining me. I have our guests here today who will be talking about their experiences as well, since they were in Shasta. And Gina Koch, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Wendy. And thank you again for the retreat. Totally mind-blowing, totally amazing. I wish we could have had more people participate, but I'm glad we had the turnout that we did with all the circumstances and everything and the travel for everybody. But thank you so much for having me. I'm a multidimensional spirit communicator, animal healer, earth healer, channel. Just to say a few things that I do, there's more that I do, but basically that's who I am. So very glad to be here and excited to kind of share the experiences I had with Shasta. So thank you.
Thank you. And Susan Mulheron.
Hello. I had an amazing experience in Shasta. It was absolutely beautiful, very high vibrational energy. Everything seemed to unfold perfectly in perfect timing. It was probably the highest vibrational energy that I've felt so far. And I think I checked with my pendulum at one point and it said seventh dimensional energy, wow, if that was correct or not. But it was amazing. It was just an incredible experience coming together, all of us light workers, and joining our energies together and supporting Gaia and all the beings in the inner earth and around Shasta, all of our soul family. I've been going through my awakening journey probably the last 2 years, a little over 2 years, and I connected with Wendy last year and with Gina more recently at Shasta. And but I do channeling, a little animal communication, light language, a little psychic mediumship as well. And I'm starting to dabble in energy-infused art work, which I've been called to do. So I'm just beginning on working on my spiritually based business, which I'm being called to do. So that's in its beginning stages. But yeah, it's been wonderful. Connecting with Wendy and Gina and with everybody else here that was at Shasta and who I've connected with online. It's been an amazing journey the last few years.
So one of the first things that occurred to me was Gina and I had met a few years ago at a conference. And during the conference, we had this conversation with each other talking about, oh yeah, you know what? I'm hearing that one day we're going to be up front, as a speaker, being a speaker at a conference. And so she said, oh yeah, I can see how that's, I can see you doing that. And I'm like, no, I see you doing that. and so 2 years later, they started telling me, oh, hey, guess what? You're not going to, my guides, right? I'm talking about my guide team. So I started hearing them say to me, I want you to do the conference. You're going to do the conference. And I'm like, well, where am I doing this conference? And who am I getting the speakers? And, how is this all coming together? So I was hearing from my team that I needed to come and do this event. And so I'm like, well, where is it going to be? And so I was using pendulum and putting maps up and trying to pinpoint somewhere in the US. And then I just kept hearing Shasta, Shasta, Shasta. And then right after that, they kept telling me Lemurian. And so I'm like, okay, I don't really understand all those connections. So of course, as they like to do for a lot of us, some people know everything right away, maybe up front, but for me, they like to give me breadcrumbs and have me figure it out. So that's what I had to do. So once I had the idea firmed up where it was going to be at in Mount Shasta, that's really where they were calling me to, I started having dreams and visions of mountains. And so the mountain was really talking to me. And then after I was having that experience, then I started to reach out. Now, I reached out to my friend Marilee Nisiak, who with very sad heart and much love to her for her guidance, her mentorship, and her friendship, had really worked in reaching out to a lot of her contacts because she had been doing this, probably 40 years plus. And so she said, hey, let me help you with that. And so she ended up reaching out to a lot of people. And of course, I have the chills and I feel like I'm about to get emotional and cry since, as many of you know, she passed away just a few weeks after our trip to Shasta. And so they had a celebration for her life on the 1st of November. They had a drum circle, and I had submitted some words that I shared about our friendship and what she meant to me. So at any rate, she ended up reaching out to a lot of friends of hers. And so I had some friends of mine that came for speakers, and then friends of hers that came for speakers, and just people who said, I answer the call. And so I'm so grateful and thankful because they've made such a huge difference in my life. And so with that being said, the event came to be. And so now what I'd like to do is I'd like to have everybody who, if you had an experience there, or, I want to also share with that energy. So to begin with, I'm struggling with trying to say stuff because they're trying to channel stuff to me already to give you some light language. We're going to raise that vibration to the room. I see a couple of conversations there, but I'll have to put my readers on to read those in just a moment. So light language first, and then Gina and Susan, if you have light language that you'd like to share or a blessing, that's fine. And then we'll continue on with our story. Aka uyari yara kiana ni yara uichkri yara ni uri ti apakuyana kai aka ni yara pa chiku iri tama ata ka ayana ti akuyara ti yara na apa uyana ni yara kia uyani ya pa uyara pa anya ya akuri yara na ata ikiara tu uri ti anya o ka yana mada. So that was a blessing of the energy. It's actually, I'm hearing that was the mountain, Mount Shasta mountain, coming in to have a conversation through my light language. So connecting through me because of our connection at the mountain, which continues, and with the Lemurians. So the way when I channel light language, it comes through as packets of data. So I'll hear all of it once, and then sometimes it'll come out just a straight translation. And then after that, it will be my thoughts too. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, this is what they said, and then here's what I'm hearing. So that's how it is. So so they just wanted to really just share that that blessing for you. And then Gina and Susan, if you want to say something.
Sure. As you were doing that, thank you, by the way, my head is just buzzing. I'm trying to refocus here and get my voice back. Excuse me. I've got when I work with people, I connect in with their spirit guides. I work a lot with the ascended masters, all the master healers, the archangels, the dragons, and so many more. So when I get into any type of a group setting, I automatically connect my energy into whoever is listening onto this live cast right now. They're also saying whoever joins later to listen to this, all they have to do is just get grounded into Mother Earth, connect their crown chakra to divine source, and then just be open for any clearing, healing, and downloads from their spirit guides, the teams, the master healers, the archangels, and other beings of love and light that are here today. So they are connecting in with everyone that's listening now and in future, because there is no time. Time is an illusion, they're just saying, and anyone else who's listening to this at a later date can do the same thing with their team. So anyone who would like healing, clearing, and upgrades, definitely just drop out of your head right now. They're saying drop into your hearts and be open to clear and receive new information. So I'm heating up right now. I know everyone's connecting in together here, together collectively as a group, and then also individually with your other individual teams and the beings that you work with. So, and they just want us to drop into our hearts just for a few seconds here, and just allow them. Because of free will choice, they're asking that you just allow them to clear anything that is stuck or blocking you. Anyone else who needs any hooks, cords, attachments removed with ease and grace. Any old patterns, programs, implants, off-world or on-world interferences, any old spells, and anything else that is impeding your progress to opening more of your gifts, keeping your chakras blocked. They will be gently working with you tonight and throughout this new moon. They're reminding me happy new moon blessings to everyone as well. I almost forgot about that. So new moons, new beginnings. So everyone just open your heart, stay in your heart here as much as you can, and just continue to receive. Whoever wants to do this afterwards, they will gently continue with you throughout the evening and then fill you up when they're done with high vibrational energies. So thank you. I can feel that. It's really strong with this group.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Thank you so much. And thank you to the team for giving those messages. I was going to say, okay, if they give me any more vibrations, I'm going to be floating because it's a lot right now. So welcome to those who have just joined. We have done a little bit of light language, and then we've also been doing some clearing and blessings. And then Susan, are you getting any messages, or is there any aspect that you'd like to just start to share?
I think there's some light language coming up here.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Si tutuia si tutuia sukutuia sukutuia si tutuia poesia tutuia si tia tutuia si tutuia si tutuia tia tutuia si caria poesia tukuia si tutuia si tuia sukutuia 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 tukutuia sukutuia sukutuia tia tia tukuia tia tukuia poesia tukuia poesikia sukutuia 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 tia sukutuia tukuia sukutuia tukutuia tia sukutuia tukuia. We hold the sacred space with you, you beings of light. We are the Lemurians. Thank you for joining with our energy. We join our hearts with yours. Come together as one. We are your family. Much blessings.
That was nice. Thank you. That was nice.
Powerful.
Well, I asked them to come, so that was nice.
Yeah. That was very beautiful for them to have to joined us. So one of the fun things that I ended up picking up was this. I don't know. I am just enthralled with this rattle. So it actually pulled the energies while we were at Shasta and infused them. So while I was working with it, they had me add light language to it. So I don't know if you can see a little bit of the white marking. Well, let me see if I can get one in camera. So I had to add some because I do write in light language. So they had me add light language to different seed pods on this rattle. I don't know, some are more visible than others. But the reason that they had me do that is because we're getting ready to take another trip to Florida. And Susan, Joan, and I are going to go. And so we each have these rattles, and we're going to use them there to bring extra light and do some portal work and some clearing work and working with the souls. And so which is a continuation of Mount Shasta. So I wanted to tell you guys about an experience that I had the first night that we got there. The first day that we got there. So while we were traveling through, we had arrived because I traveled in through Medford, Oregon. So I arrived in Oregon. And so I'm driving from Oregon. It's about an hour south to get to where we were staying at in Mount Shasta. And right before we got to Weed, and Weed is just about, 10, 15 minutes away from where we were staying. And as soon as I got into Weed, I started having this almost like hyperventilating of clearing energy. And so it was a lot of deep breathing. And so typically when I start moving energy on people, and myself included, I start to have these like yawning. It's like, and so I'm driving, and for 20 minutes, I was like nonstop having these deep yawns, and I couldn't catch my breath. And you know how when you yawn, your eyes close? So I was like, keep my eyes open. I'm trying to drive here. And I was like this far from actually like pulling off to the side of the road and saying like, I can't handle this. Like I have to drive, and I can't breathe like this and drive. And so, and it was nonstop. I mean, it was just nonstop. And I noticed the time when it started, because after about 4, usually 3 or 4, and I'm kind of done. But this like what kept going. So when I hit 5 and 6, I'm like, all right, what time is it? So I made note of the time. And then of course, Marilee was sitting, in the passenger seat next to me watching all of this happen. And she's like, what is going on with you? She goes, are you just tired from the trip? And I'm like, no, this is how I clear energy. And so I had this incredible experience of 20 minutes of just like this moving energy as a transmuter. The way it's been explained to me by my team is that I'm like a transformer. And so taking low energy to high energy. And so that's what I do. So I take the low energy and I transform it to high energy. And then when I'm working with people doing healing sessions, I take their low energy and bring it up, and bring the high energy from the angelics and bring it down. And so that's how they meet. And then that's where the work is done, all in the quantum field. So anyway, so after that experience, arrived at the hotel, got checked in. They didn't have me in the right room, so our rooms got switched around, and so we ended up being in this other room. So, but that evening, so everybody was getting together, saying hello and everything, and then that evening, I went to bed, and I thought, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm too excited. Everything's happening tomorrow. But I did. I ended up going to bed, and then when I woke up, it was somewhere around 4, maybe 5 in the morning. And the experience that I had was that, I don't know if you've ever seen, the movie, The Matrix, how data like comes down in packets, it's like down like this. And then I correlate this to there's another movie, The Minority Report, where data like comes down, it comes in, they swipe left, they swipe right, it's up and over, and like they're moving the data all around, like on this, like a glass screen, right? Similar to, if you can imagine, like using your iPad. And then so I was seeing these codes, and so it was like packets of codes, probably like an inch, and then like a centimeter space, and then another inch, and then a centimeter, and then another inch. But they were coming in so fast, it was like, and then like kind of all like coming to this circle, but they were like coming in from all kind of directions, and some came in like 2 streams, like a V, and sometimes so it was like multiple streams happening all at once, right? And so I was like, I don't understand. Like, what did I just receive? And so I saw them out in front of me here, and then I saw them pull into my being. And so like it just landed into me, right? So it just loaded up into my heart space. And I was like, I don't really understand that. Like, what was that? And so all I knew was that they were codes. I had a download of codes. And so I was like, all right, that was really wicked cool. and so my experience to that was that I was like, I got codes downloaded. And then when I got back from Shasta, I was working on the editing of one of my videos. And in that video, and Sarah, actually, you're part of that video, that we were talking about ley lines, and how the ley lines, like there's high vibration spots across the earth, across the globe, and where those ley lines are. And then when I saw that image of the ley lines over the earth, I was like, click. That's what those codes were. those codes were coming in for all the different ley lines, and they were coming in to me to be distributed and anchored. And I don't understand why that was all happening, but as many of you know, one of my fractals is as Archangel Raziel. And so that's one of like my mission here is to do this grid work. And many of you have these same missions and work that I'm doing. And even though I've, got this label of Archangel Raziel, I've also got, Frederick the Dragon and Elf Lord and, a Mayan warrior who was killed in battle, that was actually just very recent that came on to me. Athena. So, when you've lived lots and lots of lives, you've got all this like background and history, but it's all in the quantum. And so since it's in the quantum, teachable moment, right? So since it's all in the quantum, you still have access because it's all now. It's all now. And so, and I'm sweating like crazy talking about this. So anyway, and of course it's all tied in to God. So whether you want to call God, source, creator, or however you want to say that. So anyway, so I got all these codes. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing with that. But then once I got home and returned, so skipping ahead of some of the other things that happened, but once I got home and returned, then I just felt off kilter. And I don't know if anybody else had felt that way. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but I was just very off kilter. And I thought, what is happening with my body? And then I had a wedding the week later. So tried to work through the week. At that wedding, I fell and bashed my head pretty hard, knocked myself out. And well, maybe not all the way out. I'm not sure. But anyway, came back the following week. And then finally, like I started to feel normal. And then 2 days after I came back from that wedding weekend. So it's like Shasta weekend, wedding weekend, the following weekend. And now I'm home. It's like a Tuesday afternoon. And all of a sudden I was like, like I got punched in the rib. And I was like, what was that? And of course, then during a channeling session, what I found out by asking questions like, what was this experience? Why did I have to bash my head? So what they said was when I banged my head like that, because it literally like cracked on the sidewalk. And I was very sore for about a month. It took about 4 weeks for my head to not hurt in the back of my head. But the team said, when I was asking during channeling, I said, why did I have to experience that? And they said, oh, that was a fast way to give you a reset. You had picked up so many toxins from traveling through airport and other airport, and then getting to Shasta and then driving through Shasta. I had been during this transmuting that I was picking up so much energy, they had to shove it out of my body. And that was the fastest way. The team said, oh, that was the fastest way. And I was like, next time you guys want to pick a fast way, could you do it a little less painfully? Because that really hurt. That really hurt. But anyway, I also found out that punch in the ribs that I felt, that finally I was like, oh my God, I almost feel like a normal person again. That was me dropping those codes. So they had to let go of all the toxins so that the codes could then be put into Gaia. And so that's then what I was doing is I dropped the codes into this energy, pulling it from Shasta, bringing it into the Chicago area and dropping those codes here. And so, I mean, so much of this stuff is like beyond like what we understand as human beings, and we make the best of it. We try to figure it out and try to explain it to the best of our ability, to the understanding of, the moving from 3D to 5D and the energy work that each of us are doing as we each have our unique gifts. And sometimes they cross over, and sometimes our friendships make it stronger and broader and brighter. And right now I have to say that this group is like putting out so much love energy, and I am just blessed that you're here, and I just am really feeling it. And that energy is just really making me sweat like crazy. So thank you. Okay. Next share, please.
Well, I can talk about the beginning. I started kind of before you guys did. So as soon as I saw Wendy's post, I just knew instantly, oh my gosh, I have to go. Didn't know why, had to go to Mount Shasta. Didn't have it on my radar at all. Knew it was on my bucket list, but did not know that Mount Shasta was going to be, this year. It was going to happen when it did. So I started, I'm like Wendy too. They give me puzzle pieces. They give me bits and pieces. So I knew I had to go out before the retreat. There was work I had to do. I'm also, being a divine channel and earth healer, I clear land and pick up codes and keys and frequencies and stuff like that too. So I knew we had to arrive on Tuesday. The retreat started on Friday. My husband and I came in on Tuesday into Reading and had to drive 3 hours west out to the Pacific Ocean to Shelter Cove, which is close to Humboldt National Forest. I knew I had to go and meet the redwood trees. They had codes and keys and things that we had to pick up. I knew we had to go to the Pacific Ocean and pick up codes and keys and bring those back to Shasta. So we started on Tuesday, got in Tuesday afternoon, and we drove 3 hours through basically burned forest. It was a lot of burned forest, thousands of acres of trees just gone, everything wiped out, everything devastated. I guess the main thing that we kept noticing was the death and rebirth, the death and rebirth. As we started driving out of Reading, there was a massive dead male grizzly bear that was laying against the road that had been hit by a truck. I mean, I've never seen a grizzly bear that big before. So it was really, really disheartening to see this giant, beautiful animal that had gotten kicked out of its home due to the forest fires and got hit by a car and was laying there. So we had said some blessings for him and continued driving. But about an hour later, we saw a mama grizzly bear with 2 little baby cubs. As we went around a mountain corner, they were standing in front of us. So it was kind of that theme, getting out to the coast too, dead sea lions, but then seeing new babies, and same with birds and stuff like that. So it was all a sign from Gaia about the death needs to happen for the rebirth to come through. So that was really obvious with the animal messages they were sending. But on my trek out there, thank goodness my husband was driving, but for 3 hours, I was hunched over in my seat thinking I was going to vomit. And I kept going through my head, what did I eat today? Is it all the travel? Is it the plane? I mean, we've been up since 4 a.m. I'm like, okay, why? And I kept telling him, if I holler, you're going to have to hit the brakes. I'm going to jump out of the car. But I never did vomit, but the whole 3 hours just bent over, holding my stomach, trying to look at the scenery, trying to send love and light out to these burnt acres of trees and, you know, the animals and elementals and all the beings that got displaced there. We finally made it to our hotel that night. And as soon as we got done, I stepped out of the car, everything disappeared. And then I finally realized that whole 3 hours I was clearing the land. And I was fine after that. And it was incredible though. But like you, Wendy, I was like, what the heck is going on? What is happening? Thank goodness. I feel bad you were driving. Thank goodness I wasn't driving. I don't think I could have. But it was so intense. And in talking to other people that travel from all over the country and different parts of the world, it sounds like everyone was kind of doing the same thing in their own way, which was really, really interesting that Gaia had us clearing all of the land for her. So that night we stayed at the hotel. The next day we got up and we went to the Avenue of the Giants, the giant redwoods in Humboldt National Forest. And we spent the whole day in the trees. That was absolutely amazing. There was nobody else there, just my husband and I had the whole place to ourselves. Soon as we stepped into the first grove of trees, I mean, my husband and I were just bawling. The trees were so excited to see us, and they're like, you finally came. And immediately started getting downloads of information. I was almost passing out. I was sitting for about an hour, just hugging trees and sobbing and crying, and getting information from them. But the main message they kept saying is, you people, you humans are finally catching up to us. And I went, what are you guys talking about? They're like, humanity is finally catching up to the trees. We already have a consciousness. We're already connected. I mean, I know they're connected by the roots. I know they're able to talk to each other. A tree, you know, in Wisconsin, for instance, can talk to a tree in Africa or South America. They all talk telepathically. But I never quite knew how. And later on that day, as we were walking through this magical glen, the elementals were out. There was unicorns, there were fairies. I mean, I was practically skipping down the path in the woods. There were rainbows everywhere in the trees. It was so magical. But then in that second, all of a sudden, somebody started up a chainsaw. And I couldn't believe it. My husband and I went, you have to be kidding me. someone is going to cut down one of these trees on the other side of this park. And he looked at me and said, oh, I'm sure it's nothing. It's probably a dead tree. Don't worry about it. Well, as soon as he said that, all of a sudden the energy stopped. So it went from happy and excited and joyful, and everything just suddenly stopped. Everything got serious. The elementals, I mean, you could hear a pin drop, and it got really serious. And all of a sudden the trees plugged me into them, and I could feel the sadness, and I started bawling with them. And I looked at my husband and said, that tree is very much alive. It is not a dead tree. And I could feel all the trees sending love and light to this one tree that was going to be cut down. And it was incredible. I'm still going to cry.
It just hurts my heart.
Because they were just like, oh my gosh, we're here for you. And they immediately started sending love and light. So as the chainsaw started cutting into this tree, it's like they sent the tree numbing. So it did not feel anything when the chainsaw started cutting into the bark. It was incredible. And then in that instant, like, I knew what they were talking about. They're like, this is how humanity, when we flip into the unity and oneness and we all start connecting, you guys will be able to do the same thing. You will be like us. You will be giant trees. You'll be like the leaves on a tree. You'll each have your own individual personalities and your purposes. But when someone is hurt or painful or needs love or support, you will feel that in the collective and can send them love and light like we did to this tree. So it didn't feel anything when they killed it. It was incredible. It was really incredible. And then when I came home and started doing healing sessions with people, I noticed people then started going into the one chakra system. And I really think that all was triggered after Shasta and the equinox. It was really a big flip for humanity. And I noticed that people's chakra system fully started flipping into the one chakra system. As it does that, then they showed me we are like the trees and how the trees connect in energetically. Our chakras flip, instead of cones going out from front to back, they flip up and down. So the energy is running like, kind of like, it reminds me like a helix symbol when you look at the helix.
Yep. I know how you mean.
Yep, it goes
So
up and down.
Gotcha. One's going up and one's going down.
Yep, this energy swirls around, up and down. The chakras, colors are all on that. It kind of reminds me of a barber pole, an old barber pole.
Oh,
and
okay.
you can see individual chakra color then swirling around it. So the energy is swirling up and down. And when you get a download, at least for me, it feels like there's a turbojet engine inside of you taking off. It's not a hot flash, but boy, you feel the energy. It gets really intense. But when you flip into the one chakra system, you get almost like these little antennae type feelers. It reminds me of like a sea anemone, how they have those little fingers, jelly fingers, and they all connect in together. But they connect in together. So right now, everyone who's in the one chakra system, we are all connected like the trees are. And we're holding this beautiful white light of ball of love around the earth right now. So when we fully flip into 5D, we'll be able to communicate just like the trees are and send the love and light. I mean, we can now on some level, but that's what the trees are showing me. So for me, that was really big.
That's so incredible too. Like the connection with the trees. Like some people like really hear them. For me, it's like I have more of a sensing for them. So I know sometimes when I'm walking my neighborhood, I'm like, a lot of them are kind of like hug me. So I'm like, I'm walking my dog and I'm holding like leaves and, hugging the trees a lot of time. And there was, just like you were saying, a tree that just had been brought down that was just a big tree in the wrong spot, apparently, and was alive. And I was like, oh no. And I had that same sensation as you. And then immediately I found myself connecting into the roots of the trees and sending all of them love and light and asking if I could join in with sending that tree love and light as it, crossed over to its passing. I mean, it's so interesting when you start moving into the oneness about starting to think about how everything has energy, and I had been thinking about how everything has energy, my desk, my phone, my scrunchie, how it's all got energy and trying to be more appreciative of it, over the years, I've noticed like that's one thing that I started to do. And, but when that happened just in my neighborhood, I'm like, oh, I'm really feeling it. Like incredible. And I'm like, oh, how are we going to live when it's, when like plants have to, they're dead and they have to come out. And so I find them, I'm kind of doing like these little mini ceremonies about, asking for love and light to be sent to, the being that just, left. So, or apologizing because, we still live in a domesticated society where you're still, you can't just let weeds grow all over your yard. I mean, I guess you can, but, so it's like, it's like, don't worry. They keep telling us the message. And I don't know, Susan, maybe this was a conversation we had that they, during one of our channeling sessions where we were saying, well, what are we supposed to do when we have to like pull weeds, but the weeds are vibrant but they just happen to be a weed. And so we don't really want it in our yard. They're like, no, we understand. You can just, apologize to the fairies and maybe try to like do a little seed garden, like just for the fairies in a certain area for your yard. So that like, that's their sacred spot and like, you won't touch it. And like whatever wants to grow there can grow there, that kind of thing. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, that reminds me of the summer I connected with a fairy for the first time in my yard. And it was in relation to what I would normally consider a weed because I have these like bluebell flowers that are like an invasive species. So they just reseed themselves everywhere, like in my gravel driveway all over. And so I was sitting out in my gravel driveway doing a little meditation, and I was looking at the bluebells, right, that were sprouted everywhere. And I'm like, and I said, well, you sure are pretty, even though you're, invasive or something, or a weed. And then I got a message from this bluebell fairy named Joy, and about being in my joy and being grateful, and thanking me for appreciating the bluebell flowers and stuff. And so it kind of like totally changed my perspective. And then like the next day I found an oracle deck online on Amazon, and there was like it showed a few cards, and the last card was a bluebell fairy card with the message gratitude. And this is right after I connected with the bluebell fairy. So that was a great confirmation. But, and I spoke when I connected with her, I was speaking some light language as well. But it was like, I was speaking her light language and getting like I was having like a telepathic conversation with her while I was speaking light language, which was kind of interesting. And yeah. And so I do, try to connect with the trees and animals, or if I see deer in my woods, which I did. I saw a mama deer and 2 babies yesterday. And, I'll try to send message of love that you're safe here, and I live here too, and you're protected, and, sending love, and, and it seems like when I do that, even though they can see me and stuff, they'll just stop and they'll start grooming themselves, and they'll seem totally relaxed after I send them some loving energy and that I'm not a threat or anything. And then there's a few trees in my woods where I've gotten, because I'm pretty strong with my claircognizance, so I'll get like words and phrases and names. And so I have a couple special trees that I've gotten names for, and I'll go hug them and, connect with them. One's a young oak tree named Henry, and one's like a big, beautiful sugar maple called Ivan. And, and another that was like male energy. And then I have like a female sugar maple on the other side of my driveway that I recently got the name Penelope for her. So yeah, it's amazing once you even telepathically trying to communicate out when you're out in nature with the trees or the plants or the animals that you see, and just listening for what messages you get back. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It really is very amazing. Now you and Joan were roomies, and so I'm going to go ahead and bring this part up too. So back to Shasta and the experiences that happened there. And Joan had shared an experience that she had while she was awake.
I was thinking of that too.
I don't know, Joan, I know you're here in the room. Is that something you want to come and chat about? I mean, I know you're always like, don't put me on screen.
The lights that you saw?
But I think if you would
room.
like to share it, I would like for you to come and share it. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Well, this Sorry. Hi, guys. Bear with me. Well, that the next day, that Friday, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I get up on the bed and go to the restroom. But then I was just standing out there, and then I see this light beaming at me, and then a flashing light. I said, "What's going on? Am I dreaming?" Or I said, "I'm standing up, but it's probably like a minute that's happened because I was feeling dizzy." So I said, what just happened?" So I think it was like they're trying to connect with me, but or I don't know. I said it was an Arcturian that's trying to connect with me. So I'm still not good on that. But usually I'm but usually I'm astral travel or dreaming a lot. And before I came here in America, in the Philippines, there's a man told me that he talked to a gnome. He can see a gnome personally, like he's seeing
Like
them.
seeing
But
them,
I
like how we
see,
see each other, right?
yeah, he described how they look like, how they dressed up, and they have a red hat, and they dress like human, like they have a shirt and then what you call a pants, and their shoes is red, and they're riding with the horse. So he said when they're riding the horse, they kind of fly in the sky. So he's seeing them flying when they're leaving. So they told me that I'm going to America and going to get married, but that time I'm not awake yet.
Yeah. How
And
old were
also,
you?
I don't
In your
know.
early 20s, right?
Yeah, it's probably like 23, 24, something around that. And then they told me I'm going to get married, and I'm going to other country and have a kids and buying a house and meeting my three energetic or something like that. And they told me also that I'm going to meet my soul family online using using also the cell phone. We can talk to them, and they tell me that we're gonna do the telepathic. We're gonna see in aliens, and we're gonna see them, the dragons, the fairy, and also the gnomes, the elementals. But then, but I'm still waiting for that to see them personally because they told me I can see them personally. To so they told me I'm going to Mount Shasta, so to Lemuria, and that's what happened 50,000 years ago. What? So I did not understand what that. Now it came to my understanding that Lemuria is in Mount Shasta. So
Yeah.
so that's probably why they came to me with the beaming light. And they told me that every one of us we carry codes and we share codes each other. So it's more stronger when we see each other. That's and we sharing the codes, and also we get going to activate each other because the online thing it's gonna be there's a little bit, but when you see it personally, they said you get activated the person. So the man, the old man that I he get activated when he healed me. So he see the gnome when he healed me. So he was surprised, the old man too. So that's
Oh, wow.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And those lights, I mean, after the last night that we were there and we were all up at Pluto's cave and just, Gina was down below, and you'll have to tell like what you were doing and while you were down in the cave. And then we were wandering around top and we're like, oh, look, here's a fairy circle. Joan, myself, and Susan were all wandering around on top of Pluto's cave. And then we ended up meeting at the cave. We took these beautiful photos. And then afterwards, we were waiting for the moon to come up. It was like a day before the full moon. And so, but the energies were already there. So another full moon day. And then I ended up, I don't know, some of us were doing light language and stuff. And then there was dancing that was going on with the Aztec dancers that were there. And then I went to go get a picture, and I was like trying to get a selfie. I was like standing on this, like on a rock, because there was like these 3 rocks next to this big evergreen. And I was like, oh, this looks like a great place. And they saw 3 of them. And I was like, oh, let me get in the middle. And then at the last minute, I changed my mind. I was like, no, I'll just stand on the end. And so I was standing there, and then one of the girls comes up and goes, oh, do you want me to take a picture? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. So she's got a picture of me. So I take a picture of the mountain, and then she takes a picture of me with no flash. And then she takes a second picture of me with no flash. And then this light beams down on me. And so that's actually my Facebook photo right now, with a picture of me with this light beaming down. There's parking spaces, but there's no up top light source for this light to come from. So I was like, what just happened? And so as soon as I like looked at the photo, like she handed me my camera back, and I looked at the photo she just took, and I go, oh, look at what you just took. And then here's this photo of me. And so I literally walked around. Well, I might've been skipping to everybody going, look what I just saw. Look what just happened. Look what just happened. They beamed me, but they didn't beam me up. But I mean, I don't know, maybe they did beam me up, and I just don't know, because they put me away back and forth so quick that I just had no idea. I don't know. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking I was here, and then I was like, oh, I felt like moving my arm or something. And so I was like, oh, and then I had a thought, and then I was smiling, and then that photo got taken, because I was like, yay, I'm here, kind of the hands up in the air thing. And so that's how I ended my, our experience was out at Pluto's cave with this light beaming on me that you couldn't see with the naked eye. I mean, I wasn't like, oh, there's a light beaming on me. That did not happen. But one thing that it's like really like in my mind, what did happen was that the day that we were at the lake at Siskiyou, Lake Siskiyou, and I actually have I printed out a picture of the lake, and so see if you can see it here. Look at how it fits into the picture. So this is Lake Siskiyou, and we were down in one section of it, kind of doing. It's almost like the first part that you get to, and I forget exactly what stop it is, but anyhow. So, but when we got there, everybody who had come, like you could feel just the energy of our group, just because we were there as a group, was pulling so much cleansing energy. Like we were all there doing our work. Everybody was doing their work just by being there. And then Carla and Terry hosted a kind of a water, like a baptism. So whoever wanted to go and, kind of get dunked in the water. Now, I already knew that I needed to be in the water fully immersed anyway, somewhere along the line. So I thought, well, this is the perfect time to do that. So so we had some photos of that, and I have some video I haven't shared yet, but I'm getting that edited. So who knows, maybe it'll eventually show up on my page, on my channel, my YouTube channel. If you don't already know, my YouTube channel is Archangel Raziel and her crystal skulls. So, or maybe it's with, I can never remember whether it's and or with. Anyway, so, going into the water, getting out of the water, and like you could just feel the energy changing. So anyway, so just kind of enjoy the day, talking to different people. There's drumming, there's a lot of saging going on. And then, Gina and I are talking, and she's like, oh my gosh, like we're staying like right here. And so I was like, oh my God, let's like get together and say hello. And so so it was kind of like later in the day, we were like getting ready to leave. Most of the people had already left. And Marilee, there was a couple of people helping Marilee, as she was, she had a little hard time walking, she has her cane, and so had a cane. And so she was, walking up the hill and whatnot. And a couple people were assisting her. And so anyway, we were coming back to the car, and then voila, here's Gina. And so I mean, as soon as we hugged each other, it was just like we couldn't let go. It was just like we were little magnets. We were just stuck to each other, and I'm sure we were exchanging codes. But you also had an experience you were telling me about. So before I go into the dragon stuff that we experienced in the fairies, again, if you want to share the part about, oh, my mind just blanked. About your experience that you had, like, right, it was that day right before you got there with getting maps.
Getting the maps.
Maybe it's when you were sitting with the trees. I remember you telling me, look, they put it in you and then they took it out of you, just like that.
Yeah,
just like how I was getting ley lines, they were giving you.
Yeah, they were giving me, it was ley lines and maps, and they were just showing me how everything was connected. They were just showing me kind of the divine timing of it too, because one of my friends had booked a trip to Hawaii 3 days before all of this began. So she is a royal blood Lemurian high priestess who's connected in with the crystal in Lemuria. She booked a trip to Hawaii, not knowing you had the trip to Mount Shasta. So she was coming back from Hawaii on Friday and landing in California. And then Keith and I were picking up the codes from there and driving it from the Pacific Ocean. We drove 4 hours that day, well, almost 5 hours that day then. And that's when we met you that night, bringing those codes and keys in with you. So we were carrying all of that from the ocean, from Lemuria itself, from her landing it, and bringing it forward, and then the Pacific Ocean codes. And that's when you and I met up at that lake. Because if I would have known you guys were starting early, I never would have stayed that extra day to pick up those codes. So it was all totally divine timing. And you and I just happened to meet just as you guys were finishing your ceremony. And that's when all these downloads just started happening. It was just so intense. I mean, our whole bodies were just, I was shaking and sweating. And that's when I could feel the energy. And I said, look at the mountain. And you and I turned around at the same time and saw the dragons.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy. And then of course they started channeling through me because I channeled dragon light language. And so the dragons came through, and earlier tonight they were trying to push through, and I was like, not yet, guys, but like, wait it out. But they were trying to push through, and it's been pretty incredible because of the channeling that we've been doing. We've got several dragons that are like, they're just like, yeah, calling us anytime. But okay, so before I got there, so a quick message about the dragons. So before I got there, so I already knew we were going to Shasta, had the speakers, some speakers were kind of coming and going. So there was a lot of like, because of the chaos of the collective energy, there was a lot of like changes that were happening within our, actually, like before we got there with like whoever was going to be there for speakers. And so that chaos was being reflected, the collective chaos was being reflected. So, okay, so now I'm traveling. While I'm traveling, I'm like talking to the dragons the whole time, because the week prior, the mountain started telling me that I needed to create snow on the mountain. I needed to bring back snow. It was important for Mount Shasta to have snow. And so the week prior to us flying out, I started working with the White Dragons of the North. And because I work with the elements and the elementals as well, they had me working with I was like, I didn't really know I could do that. And they're like, yes, you can control the weather. So I was like, okay, let's start controlling the weather. So then the week prior, I started working with, and I'm sure it wasn't just me. I'm sure that there were hundreds and thousands of people who live around the Shasta area who've been saying, we need, but they were feeling lack of. I wasn't feeling lack of. So it was easier for me to work in that energy to say, okay, let's start to bring in snow into the area, because I wasn't working from a place of lack. And so when I was working with the dragons, it was super easy for me to say, hey, let's bring in some moisture, bring the clouds over there, bring in the cool air, and like, let's get some snow. And then when we got there, it was like the coldest, all the fires were like, I mean, there may have been one or two small fires in places. The fires were gone. The air was cleared out. All of that like smoky likeness that you could see, like when we were flying in some areas, you could see that area had smoke. And as the smoke was like cleared out, so the smoke was cleared out, the weather was like, what was it, like 50 degrees while we were there? It rained. They hadn't had rain. And I was like, wow, talk about getting to see like quick reaction.
Yeah. It was like beautiful blue sky all 3 days, except for the rain Saturday morning. And there was a resident that was there who said, it was like, wasn't the first heavy rain in like 2 months, and they had been dealing with smoke and having to stay inside for like 2 months, and they were thanking us for bringing our energy there to help clear the land and bring in the rain. Yeah, it was amazing. And then we went up to the mountain that afternoon after the rain had cleared, and it was just, it was like perfect afternoon to be up there.
Yeah. So I'm like carrying this chair, or I don't know, I had my tripod or my bag or something. And after Gina and I said hello, all of a sudden the dragons start to, they lift my arms out wide, and I just started channeling dragons. And then Gina was like, wait, they've got more stuff. And then she came up and she put her hand to my heart, and then another dragon came through. And then, so I had the 2 dragons that we channeled. Hang on a second. Sorry, my mom was having a quick conversation with me. So anyway, so I channeled the dragons. They just came through with a message. And then a few of the other gals that were still kind of I feel like there were maybe like 10 of us that were like the last of the people like kind of leaving the lake. And they go, oh, look at the angels are over the lake. The angels are over the lake. And so we like all turned to like look at the lake, and you could see the sun, like it was like around sunset. So like early sunset, early evening, but the sun was just like gleaming on the lake, and we were just like looking out across it, and they just their exclamation about it. Now I don't see things like that visually. I just have a knowing about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I can feel the energy. I can tell you it's like here, it's like, it's right there, that kind of thing. So, and Gina, I don't know. I can't remember if you were seeing and experiencing that. I remember something about green energy or green fairy or something. I don't know.
There was a lot going on. The dragons were the biggest thing. I remember actually seeing them coming out of the mountain and flying down and like lifting all the dense energy that you guys have been clearing all afternoon, lifting it off. And then it's like the celestial angelic energy kind of came in, green rays, purple rays. They were different. They were bringing all the different rays, I think, into that to really kind of ground all that energy into that land. And it's just like it just opened it up like a volcano almost, like it just like erupted all this stuff from inner earth, and it connected the inner earth energy, I felt like, to that galactic energy, that celestial divine energy. And it just started spreading from there. It was amazing. Yeah, that night the mountain came to me and talked. I don't remember what it said, but I remember the mountain coming to me that night when the rain came. So that was really amazing, really intense. The work you guys did that day was incredible at that lake. Really was.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Plus, I know that everybody, because they were traveling, they were bringing their energy in from different locations, and they were clearing what they had brought. And so by being in the lake, it's like they were dropping all their stuff in the lake. And so the lake was really doing a huge service to us just by taking that energy from us. And then as we were lifting it to clear it from the lake and blessing the lake, and because that was how we ended, we were throwing, tobacco into the water, and we were blessing and adding many lakes. So not just Lake Siskiyou, but we were, bringing our lakes and our waterways from our locations. And as we did that, we were, blessing and throwing, a tobacco donation into the lake, into the water. And so I know that right at the end, it just was kind of like whoosh. And in my video, what's interesting is there's a couple times where I scan, where it's scanned over, and thank you to my videographers, Joan and Susan, who I was like, can you guys hold the camera while I go, play over here kind of thing. But I was helping out with the ceremony and, holding space. And so afterwards, I remember like going back and like watching, and you could see like this rainbow that kept like showing up over the area where we were working, like where this work was being done, like this rainbow, this opalescent rainbow shows up again and again. And so that was very beautiful to see. And then we had another day of dancing, and then we had the sound bowls, oh my God, when Deborah did her sound bowls, that whole room was just, it was like you could hear a pin drop in there, but the vibration was so beautiful, and everybody was just really feeling the release and the healing that these bowls were doing for us. And they were incredible. And so she was amazing. And then while we were out on the mountain, Lisa had her gong, and she had it at the lake too. She had her gong, and she was doing work with her crystal bowls and her gong. And so that was, again, sound healing, and that was beautiful. And then of course we were just running around the mountain playing like children. And
we gave our gift to the mountain. We gave some Joan had brought some apples, so we gathered together and did some light language and did a little blessing on the mountain, gifting our apples to Shasta. So that was awesome.
Yeah. And then as Joan's always having her dreams, one thing that she said is, she's like, I see us like we're like playing around on these different lands. And she goes, we're like doing something. And she goes, and then I'm just like spinning on a chair. And I'm like, what does that mean? So then during some channeling, what we found out is that we actually, during our astral, we are doing this land clearing healing work. And in a dream that I had, I was like, so I used to live out in Rapid City, and that's where my awakening happened in 2012. I was in Rapid City, and actually just outside of Deadwood, but I grew up out that way, one of the places, but I also grew up in the Philippines, which is where Jonah's from. So small world. But anyway, because my dad was military, we traveled all across the US. And so to date, there's only, I think, 3 states that I have not been to, Washington, Idaho, and Alaska. So those are out of the contiguous US and Alaska. And I have been to Hawaii. So out of those are the only like places that I have not been out of the States. So I was doing, before I understood what gridding was, I was like just being who I was, and just as a child was doing that work already without understanding what I was doing. And then of course, once I became more conscious about it, and after my awakening out in South Dakota, then they really didn't have me start doing work though until 2017. And then in 2017, I started like becoming more and more aware of my gifts, even though I've always had metaphysical things happen to me since I was 7. So, having claircognizance and clairaudience. So with that, I ended up once we were leaving from the lake and getting out there and doing dragon light language, it was just like, what is happening right now? like all of this stuff is like coming online, and then understanding too that, so you went to the ocean and you came back and gave me codes. And then I took those codes and I brought them back into Chicago. And then of course, traveling with everybody else who, as we were hugging everybody goodbye, all of us were exchanging those codes, and then they brought them back into their own areas. And now we're getting ready to go do this trip into Florida. So we're going to once again be traveling across the US and then placing codes there. And then we'll also do some healing for any lost souls and people who, may have been stranded in the water, died and didn't have any idea what happened. And then also clearing and healing the water there, just like what you were doing, Gina. So it's, coast to coast, they have us doing this work, and it's like the time is now. Like, it's like, quick.
And clearing the ancient land sites, like around St. Augustine, which is the oldest city in the United States. We were called to go there as well, to some of the ancient sites there to clear the land. And so we're continuing. Yeah, it's only 2 weeks away.
I know.
We keep getting more information about the work that we're going to be doing there and everything. And I know before I came to Shasta, I received the call as well, probably a month and a half, well, maybe 2 months before. And that the few, I'd say the 2-3 days before, I was transmuting this heavy, dense energy and feeling exhausted and head pressure. And it was like probably the most intense kind of, I guess, clearing that was going on. And like I the day I left on my trip, my first flight was like 4 hours delayed, which interfered with my connecting flights. And so I arrived late, but the whole way there, my connecting flight was in Seattle, Washington. Until there, I felt like I was like just pushing through this heavy, dense energy the whole way, and the days leading up to it. But as soon as I got to Seattle, it started to dissipate, and then continue to do so on the way to Shasta. Yeah, so it's amazing. And then when I was in Shasta, it was like the best sleep I've ever had. I felt like lighter, physically lighter. My body felt lighter, no aches and pains. We felt like children again. And yeah, and then we got a channeled message through a different channeler probably a few weeks after that, and through Maggie and she was channeling Pele. And Pele was like thanking us for the work that we did at Shasta and being in our childlike joy, being our inner child joy. And that is what was needed, basically. And that's the galactic beings that we were connecting with, that they were bringing that energy that we were generating, they were bringing it back to like their home planet, and that it was affecting, other galactic areas as well. She said, I'm in tears, and my channel's in tears for this childlike joy, and that wishing that all humanity could have that, and hold that energy. And it was, to me, it was like, it felt like the new earth. It felt like a vision of the new earth, and that this is what we need to bring to other areas that we're called to go and bring this energy. And just like we're called to go to Florida, that inner call was there for all three of us. And we'll see where else it takes us. Maybe overseas next year, we hope. But we're kind of feeling like, I had a dream of, that looked like Ireland, where Wendy and I were going to an event by helicopter to like a 5-star resort. But it was like a 5-star like a 5-star conference center, but it was over these rolling green hills, and there was some like kind of like a ram-headed, like in the cliffs there was like a carving of a ram-headed god, and maybe some Egyptian gods or something like that. But it was just a vision of like, this is kind of where we're headed, as we continue doing this type of work, and we'll be called to different places to, I guess, bring our collective energies. And I know for Shasta, I kept getting the message. Part of me going there was to help kind of spread the message of unity and community. And I know that's, many of us there were, there was talk around that topic, and I think that's why we were there, basically. It's the coming together in oneness and unity. And
and Gina, I don't know, I know we talked, we've been having some conversations about possibly going back again next year. And they're telling us, you're going back next year. And I'm like, I am? Okay. When? Same timing? September? So I don't know why, but they're kind of putting the bug in our ear to like, don't worry about it now. Like, you got plenty of time. You're going to take a smaller group. It's going to be more intimate. You're going to do more, more like conversations with people, like more one-on-one, and more like specific healing, like multiple areas across, and around. So that's something that's going to, I guess, unfold as over the year, I guess, or, after whatever's happening this winter, and then we'll have to take a look at it, I guess, after April or something, who knows? Or they'll just start telling us.
Yeah. Let me know if you get any more. I'll keep you informed. That'd be wonderful. I'd love to go back there again just to see how it's changed, and like what's the next step we need to do.
Yeah.
And maybe the inner city of Telos now will quit being so shy and finally start coming out to say hello to us, like, more in person.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
You can only hope for that. But there definitely was that strong sense of community while we were there. I mean, we felt like we had just left and gone to a different place, because
it felt magical. Like we were just in a totally different dimension than what we had experienced before. Is what it felt like. It was perfect.
It felt like I was at a sleepover. Like, you know, like when you're a little girl and like you get your friends together and it's like playtime. And I mean, that's how it felt. So aside from, yes, we were doing all this energy work in that, that's really how it felt. But Susan, you were also doing dragon light language. So that was
when we were, I mean, I have about, I don't know, 4 different dragons I connect with, which some of you know that from our World Dragon Day experience. But yeah, and you know, I know I'm called to work with the dragons, and I've had lifetimes with them, and working with connecting with their dragon magic to do like artwork and stuff like that. So that's coming online. I did, like, when I had a past life regression with Wendy last year, I found out that I was a Lemurian priest, a male priest in Lemuria named Lyman, and that I had the ability to control universal forces, and including weather, and so this probably the last 4 months or so, I have been kind of playing around with, because I've been told I have that ability in this lifetime to control the weather, and so I've been playing around with that, and at least like 4 or 5 times. You know, like we hadn't had rain in days, and I'd be like, oh, it'd be nice if it rains to water my garden or something like that. And there's like no rain in the forecast, and I'll just set that intention, and literally within 1 to 3 hours, it'll rain like a nice drenching rain, not just a little sprinkle. And so I've done that like 4 or 5 times now. So it's fun to play around with your intentions and see, you know, if you want to try that sometime. It's fun to see if you can control the weather.
Yeah. So before I knew I could do that, I remember I had been like in a new home, and I was like, just had a bunch of new plants that I had put in. And so I kind of like looked up to the sky and I said, all right, God, let's make this agreement. When I start putting new plants in the ground, you need to the next day water them in, because I can't be running around with the hose. And it's been like that ever since. Like if I do planting, like if I put flowers in for my garden, the next day it will rain. So we had grass seed down. We had, you know, how you do aerating and whatever. We put grass seed down, and then after the grass seed was laid, I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to water all that in. And then we got 2 days of rain, and then I was like, oh, I need some sunshine now. And then the sun came for a couple of days, and now it's getting ready to rain again here this next week. I'm like, yes. But anyway, did anybody have any questions? I mean, I kind of been holding the floor, so I know the dragons are still trying to push through for light language, and I don't know, Gina, if they're giving you messages right now.
They just keep saying the thing I keep hearing over and over again is stay in the light, hold the light. You guys are the light, so just keep pushing forward. I know the light's already won as far as the dark forces and stuff, but they still want us. It's like I see us holding the line, basically, and we're just shining all this love and light out of our hearts. That's the big thing they keep saying. Stay in the light, stay in your heart, stay in love, and just keep pushing forward, to keep pushing this darkness and dense energy forward. That's the main thing I keep getting from them right now. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, Sarah, I know that sometimes you will have those communications and they are around you. Is there anything that do you want to come on camera and say anything? I don't know. She might just be doing stuff in the background. Wanted to give her an opportunity. And Susan, I don't know if you just want to like pull it down and bring some out. Otherwise, like I could just bring it and
some dragon light language.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm connected to a new Earth dragon named Ulrich. So I'll see if he wants to come through.
I'm hearing him already.
Bright beacons you are. Sukutoya ia sia totoya ia tukutoya ia sukutoya ia sukutoya ia. Surround the earth with your light. Chujia isia toja isi totoya isi totoya isi daudoya ia sitia ia. Sukutoya join together as one. Juizia tikaya isia totoya ia sukutoya ia. Sukutoya ia sikia ia sukutoya ia. Thank you for anchoring the light into the new earth template. Be the creators.
Sukutoyai, Sukutoya of the new golden age. Sukutoyai, Zia, Totoyai, Zutoyai, Sukutoyai, Hiazadi, Sukutoyai, Sukukikia. Sukutoya, 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 Acre the light, Sukutoya, Totoya, where you are, Sukutoya, Sukutoya, Zia, Yukutia, rise above the chaos, Sukutoya, Zia, Totoya, Hiazakaya, lift humanity up. Sukoya Sukutoya as the way shores you are. Sukutoya Tukoya Takia Tukoya Tikia. We are here to support you. Sukutia Sukutoya Sukutoya Tukutoya Sukutoya. You are well protected. Sukoya Tia Tukutoya. Have no fear. Sukutoya Tia Sikia. See beyond the illusion. Tukoyai, takiai, tikiai, tukoyai, tsikia. You are more powerful than you know. See yourselves in your highest light. And you will shine the way for others. Blessings.
Beautiful. Thank you.
you.
So
Beautiful.
so before when I was thank you, Ulrich, that was awesome. Before when I was talking about being in South Dakota, when I had gotten back, I started like having a lot of like visions, like during my meditation of like different bodies of land. I'm like, I don't know where I am. And so, but this one time I saw Devil's Tower, and there's no way you can't not know Devil's Tower because of living out in the area. And we've gone camping there. I ran when I was running the marathon, that's one of my routes while we were out there visiting. I actually ran all the way up the mountain and ran all the way back down the mountain. So again, not knowing I was doing gritting work. Which I think it's hilarious. Ran all the way up, ran the trail around Devil's Tower, and then ran back down the mountain on the road. And there's not sidewalks on the mountain, so you're running in the road. So my family wasn't too happy with me because that was a few hours of training. So they wanted to go do stuff around the area. But anyway, so when I saw that, I was like, oh, and then I know when Joan and I put the pieces together, we're like, oh, they said that we're working the land. And then that was one of the areas of working the land. So anybody who's watching, you can look at an image. You don't have to go there. You can just look at an image and have your intent to send light and love to that area. And I know it tends to be when people have disasters that all the focus will go to one area. But I'd like to ask anybody who watches this at a later stage, and of course anybody now, to work with your globe and have the intent to send light, because when we send light and love to Gaia, it helps with clearing, and it helps the galactics too, because they're fighting on our behalf, so to speak. So because they are trying to help us reach that next level of ascension, back to what we once had. So, which is crazy that we had it, and then my bangs are itching my forehead. But it's crazy that we had it and stepped away from it. Like, oh, let's try something new. Let's try to forget what we know. Let's forget about our connection and just go to a place of no dreaming, kind of thing. And yet here we are still dreaming, and the messages are still coming through, and we're like, yeah, no, we're done. It's time to go back to our 5D. So I thank you, everybody who's came in tonight. I know we're a little bit over the time that I had demarked for when we'd be doing this share. But just know that, by joining that at the beginning of the video, that those codes were shared with you. I do work with energy and can, kind of just put it into a ball and hand it. And that's part of when I was getting that download and doing light language, what I was handing out to you. So if you didn't recognize it, just go back and listen to it again, and then you'll feel it. And then the heat came with that was definitely the energy as I was sharing it. So, but the dragons do want to just growl at you guys a minute. So I'm just gonna growl, see what they want to, kind of gurgle through me. Ako yanarati akachara huaraba. Akwana ikiaraka uarati. Arate anyaraka. Aguara ayara oichi. Ayan yara. Kiara uara. Dragon's heart breath. Ako nyeri kiarapa. Wachian yara kawiri. Yaka waba yanarara ichi. Apa wara dara tiaraka na nyaraka. Ya wara. Ah! Sorry, that was high energy. That was just like a blast of energy at the end. They just wanted to like, and they're like, all right, we're not giving you everything, but it's like the growl's coming out. So I just had to laugh because they're making me sweat. It's like crazy. But so pretty much what they're saying is that your dragon hearts are joined. You'll be seeing us in the future. Look to the skies. I know that a lot of us are connecting in with, they're presenting themselves as clouds so that you can see them in the clouds. So look to the skies. And see what else you're trying to tell me. Of course, they always say this. We are with you. We're supporting you. Calling us when you need us. Our energy is here and available. So I don't know if anybody else got anything else out of that, but out of that message, if you were hearing maybe your team saying something.
My whole chest area here was so warm when they were growling. It was so wonderful. It was like, rah! But even now, I feel really hot. I feel like I'm really fire. I felt like just gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Bless you all for the healing tonight. Thank you. I'm either tingling or heating up or whatever. It's just amazing the energy you guys share. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And now I know a lot of people have dropped off, but they'll be able to watch this replay later. And of course, I'll probably do as I normally do, make sure that I have an editing and, put a little thing on the front, a little thing on the back, and then I'll post it and share it. But I can't thank you guys enough for coming and sharing your stories. And maybe I'll have an opportunity to, see you again next year in Shasta or wherever our journeys paths cross. I love seeing each of you, how you've, grown over this last couple of years. And it's just been my pleasure to develop a friendship with you. And so I love you. And I thank you for your friendship and your willingness to join me on some of these crazy things that I come up with great ideas.
I truly hope you come to Ireland. I'd love to join you because I'm in the UK, so I could join you.
Yes.
That would be amazing. I'd love to meet with you all.
Yes, we would love to do that. Hopefully my dream will come true.
Absolutely. Well, I'm pretty sure
we'll make it there.
The information they channel through you is amazing. So I look forward to that. Yeah.
Oh, thank
you all.
I am
amazing
starting
hearing
to
your
do.
stories.
They're also showing me about
thank you.
Like a map. So you visualize the map and you send all the light in the healing. That's how they're showing me to do that at the minute. So that coincides with what you guys are doing as well.
Awesome.
They just shared wherever that is. Just visualize it today, Australia, wherever it's needed.
Yes.
Our light is being received and needed. So I know that's for me reassuring to hear that you guys are doing that, albeit on my little version. But you guys are amazing. So
it's perfect. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to remember we're also powerful. I mean, I sit down and I just will envision the whole world, and I'll just connect in and connect to divine source, and I always say, I'm happy to be the channel for the beautiful love and light and send it wherever it needs to go in the world. Anybody that's here, that we can all do this. Mm-hmm. We always think of ourselves as this tiny grain of sand, but really when the sand hits the water, it sends that ripple effect, and that literally your ripple goes around the world. So don't underestimate underestimate the power that every single one of you that is watching has. You're all very, very powerful light workers. You wouldn't be sitting here listening to us talking. You wouldn't even be you wouldn't even be awake yet. So pat yourselves on the back. Everything you're doing is 10 times stronger than you can even imagine. So thank you all.
I see myself in astral, and we're in like a circle and just joined together as one light. We start off individually and come as one, but we do that across the world most nights, and then on the planet and universe.
Oh,
but I do the individual stuff as well. So it's
I think
great.
I think
love that we're working on it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the holding hands. I think Phil did a meditation a long time ago where we held hands encircling the earth, and we all sent love and light from our hearts into Gaia, encircling the earth, holding hands and being connected. And it's like I always think of that. I mean, I always visualize.
I remember that. Yeah. But I get it where my third eye, we've each got our light from our third eye, and then we could centralize it into the middle, and it becomes one ball of light. But you can imagine thousands of people circling together. That the energy is phenomenal when that happens. But it's making a difference. We have already won. The light has won. We are now just creating the creation phase, I feel, of the new world.
Or keeping the vision of what we want.
Holding that space.
We want the golden age of Gaia or New Earth, what we want it to look like and feel like, and all that. Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
I'm still on fire. What have you done, Wendy?
It
was
the dragon fire.
Wow.
I was just told last night for two different people that see auras have recently told me that they see like pearlescent golden lights in my aura, and that it's beautiful. So I heard that again last night.
Wow.
Because I was at an intuitive practice group locally here, and so I know that Ulrich, I've gotten a channel message from somebody else saying that Ulrich is helping infuse my auric field with golden Christed lights. And I think that that is for like the land clearing and like the work that we'll be doing. That's it's and bringing the healing. Maybe that's some of the extra healing energy that's coming through.
Interesting. They said to me that they want me to do the work with the Christ-like light as well. So that's what I'm saying. We're all a piece of jigsaw. We're all being given little bits of information, but when they come together, they're amazing. They're incredible. And I love that you're on the other side of the world, but you're hearing the same information, or you're being compelled to do that kind of work, not knowing. You're just trusting your teams. And the fact that I'm getting that too makes me think, hey, I'm part of this wonderful group too. So that's wonderful. No, but it is, because that's the unity, that's the connection. Because at the minute I'm coming up against a lot of negativity at the minute. I'm trying my best to transmute it. So when I talk to you guys, I think it's all right. The world's okay. It's all right. Because sometimes you kind of think, people are not awake and they do struggle a bit, but they'll find their way, won't they? So it's all good.
Yeah.
Bless you for tonight, guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you all again.
Thank you for staying up late.
And kisses to my beautiful friends.
Good night. Thank you. Much appreciated. See you guys soon. Bye.
All right.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Any closing remarks, ladies?
Just keep holding the lights. I know it's a struggle for us at times too. As we've talked about, we get the same physical sensations, but we just keep transmuting, keep doing the work we need to do, and hold on to the light within us, and just connect into the heart whenever you feel like the outer world is weighing in on you. Just try to go within and stay in the present moment, and hold just expand the love outward from your hearts.
Beautiful.
For me, they want me to work on unconditional love. So I've been working on that to myself.
Yes.
Do that, to master that unconditional love. So that's why I've been
this past year has been that. I've been dealing with that lesson this past year too. Self-love and unconditional love, especially when you get triggered. by those, that aren't awake yet, and it's just, trying to hold that space for our brothers and sisters. And
Yeah, it's a beautiful reminder. Unconditional love. Anything else, Gina?
No, I just wanted to thank you for making this all possible and making Shasta possible. We needed it.
Yes.
It was definitely meant to be. So thank you for being the catalyst to get that all going and doing an amazing job. Despite everything that was happening behind the scenes, thank you so much for shining light and keeping it all together, because that was incredible. Something I'll never forget. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really, I mean, you
it
guys
was a life changer, life changing trip. I totally,
yeah. I know each of us. Say that?
It was
again.
Now our family just got bigger, our light family.
Yeah. Oh my God, so funny. So true. All right. I will stay in touch and we will talk to you guys later. Bye to all. Thank you again for watching.
Much love.
Viewers.
Much love.
All right. Much love. Bye. Bye-bye.